So I like good celebrity gossip like anybody. You know, it's always good. One of my favorite things is to find out co-stars that didn't get along.
Yes.
That there was trouble on the set.
Oh, it's gotta happen,
Like
right?
that.
Drama.
You could imagine.
They can't always get along. Like you don't always like who you
No.
work with. Like,
Especially with those egos.
exactly.
Yeah.
Oh my God, forget about
You
it.
and Emily.
Oh, I can't stand it. I mean,
Well, this is a big movie where apparently there was a massive diva on the set, and somebody's talking about it now. Let's find out who it is.
We ain't done yet. It's time for the P1 podcast.
Fun's not over yet.
Completely uncensored and unfiltered, except for that part.
Looking for the after party with it going.
The show's after show starts now.
Yeah, one of my favorite stories of all time. I was interviewing Bill Paxton once.
Yes, I love
Really?
this. I
R.I.P.
love
hey,
this.
Paxton is the Independence Day guy, right?
Nope, that's Pullman.
Yeah.
Paxton,
say, that guy
Paxton's the
died?
other one.
Yeah.
Wait, who's Spaceballs?
Pullman.
Pullman.
You're on a Pullman kick right now. You got to get to Paxton,
Yeah,
man.
Paxton is
Aliens, Chet from Weird,
Weird Science, Twister.
Yep.
That's Paxton.
Which one's
Okay.
R.I.P.
Paxton.
Paxton.
Paxton. Wow, I always thought Pullman was dead. Paxton's dead.
Don't kill Bill
way.
Pullman. He's a treasure.
Yeah.
He's the president.
Yep.
Love him.
So we were interviewing Bill Paxton once.
Yeah.
And Bill Paxton, it was after Twister had come out. But Twister, one of people's favorites movies. So, of course, we're talking about Twister. We asked him about Twister. And he was really kind of odd about it.
Yeah.
And we kind of asked him, like, what's going on? And he said, honestly, it just wasn't my favorite movie to do. Like, really? Like, was it
Like,
like
wow.
tough conditions? Was it the flying cow? Like, what was it? what was it that got you on
Yeah.
Twister? And he said, well, when you work with somebody that you really hate and can't stand, it made it really difficult. And we're like, who is that? And he said, without saying, Helen Hunt.
Yeah.
So Helen Hunt was a massive bitch.
And that's like the word on her, though.
Yeah.
That's
Oh, and
what
you
I've
could
heard.
like hear it in his voice. Like at first he was trying to be cool about it, like, well, you know how not everybody meshes, but then like you could tell he just couldn't hold back anymore and basically called her a straight out bitch.
He hated her.
Yeah.
It's gotta
Hated
be so difficult to do a show with somebody you hate and they were like love interests in
Well,
the
that's the
movie.
thing.
Yeah.
It's
Like,
like,
it's gotta be so because you hate them.
it's fine if you hate, the guy that plays your boss or whatever.
Yeah.
But if you hate your love interest,
And
Yeah.
that's crazy to even have chemistry on screen. You know?
I hope I'm not making this up, but I
What?
think Ryan Gosling and Rachel McAdams weren't the best of friends in The Notebook.
I've read that as well.
Really?
Dude,
Yeah.
Who didn't like who?
I want to say it was McAdams that had a problem with Gosling.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
There was something
exactly.
there. There was something
Anyone
there.
not liking Ryan Gosling.
Well, but can you imagine? Like you're supposed to be so madly in love with this person, and
yeah.
you want to just fucking punch him in the face.
Right.
Well, I guess it's like marriage.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, I work with people I don't like, and it's just you deal with it. But obviously, if you're acting, it's got to be 10 times harder because you like to think that if you like somebody, it's a lot easier.
Well, chemistry is
Yeah.
a big thing.
Well, and for some reason, as fans of movies and especially TV shows, I want them all to be friends.
Oh,
like if I
yes.
found
Of
that,
course.
like I recently
Yes.
read some stuff about Seinfeld that at one point, like there was issues with like George and Jerry and Kramer. They were pissed at Jerry about like the syndication rights and all that stuff because they don't get any of that money. So that made me like, oh no.
Oh, you feel poopy?
Little guy, you felt that bad? Little
I
guy?
did. I felt very poopy
sorry
to
for
learn
you.
that there was an issue. Now they're all good, but there was an issue at one point. Sad.
I know what you're saying because I forever now watch Sex in the City differently,
God.
which is one of my favorite shows. I love it, but the stories came out that
Yeah.
Kim Cattrall, who's Samantha, none of them liked her, and now when I see their like best friend buddy moments where they're crying and holding each other because they love each other so much, I can't look at it the same.
Like, think about that. Like, the camera goes off, and then they all just go, fuck you, and they
Yeah,
walk
walk
away.
away.
Like, how crazy is that?
Yeah.
Like,
good acting.
Great acting, yeah.
Yeah, I guess so.
Wow. So yeah, it makes you appreciate their acting skills
Yeah,
more.
seriously.
Yeah.
That's Sarah Jessica Parker. Pretty good. Huh?
Wow.
Got some chops.
Yeah. Well, apparently it is. I don't know why it's coming out now because I mean this movie is 30 years old or maybe even longer.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember the movie The Outsiders?
Wow.
One of my favorites.
Big cast.
I love The Outsiders.
Yeah.
And especially, when it was made, a lot of the guys that were in that movie weren't big stars yet.
Yeah.
And then they became giant. Like the biggest star at the time was Matt Dillon.
Yeah,
Think
right.
about that. When I start telling you who was in the movie, you're like, holy shit, Matt Dillon was
Matt
the biggest
Dillon.
star at the time?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so Patrick Swayze was in it,
Yep.
and he wasn't a big star at all yet. Like that was one of his first
movies,
big
yeah.
things. Emilio Estevez
Oh,
was in it.
Yep.
Gordon
Rob
Buffett.
Lowe was in it.
Wow.
That's a good cast.
What's his face? Ralph Macchio was in it.
The Mach?
Macchio.
Yes.
Yep.
And this was, I think, his first role or one of his first roles. Tom Cruise.
Wow.
Tommy C.
Tom Cruise, who still kind of had jacked up teeth
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
didn't look, the way he looks now.
Yeah.
Like
Pre
he-
Hollywood.
yeah.
Makeover.
Like
Yeah.
it was like his first role ever
Yeah, his
was
teeth are all jacked up.
in The Outsiders.
Wow, I'm looking at a picture.
Yeah.
I've never seen this movie.
You've never seen Outsiders?
No.
Stay golden, pony boy.
What's it about?
Well, it's about 2 hours.
Okay, every time.
His teeth.
Is it a
Tom's
comedy?
Teeth are fucked.
It's a story about
Right?
like the 50s.
Okay.
When there was greasers
Which I love that.
and
Mm-hmm.
socias,
Yeah.
the social guys that were like on the football team and had money,
The
and then
jocks.
the greasers who were the poor people. Well, it was about the greasers who were there was 3 brothers, Pony Boy, Soda Pop, and Derry.
Yeah, nice.
I've seen
nice.
the movie quite a few times.
Oh, yeah, once or
Sounds
twice.
like it.
And then their group of friends, who was Tom Cruise and the rest of the
Mm-hmm.
cast, they were all fighting with the socias.
Yep.
And so it's basically the 3 of them all lived together. The 3 brothers, their parents had died, and so there was no parents around. It's
a tough life, Emily.
Patrick Swayze was like the head of them and,
Yep.
and raised them and stuff. And then it was just like a big class war thing.
Oh, okay.
you know?
Wow.
And so it's great. It's a great movie.
And
Yeah.
you just knew right away Tom was going to be a star.
Not really, to be honest
Well,
with
that's
you.
fucking crazy.
Because it wasn't like he didn't have a giant role. He was
Yeah.
just one of the random
Random
friends. And like I said, Matt Dillon was the big star
Yep.
at the time. Well, it's kind of interesting because one of the cast members is now talking about The Outsiders and filming it and saying, "Oh yeah, we had massive problems with one particular cast member."
Yeah, Rob Lowe went on Dax Shepard's podcast yesterday.
So he played Soda Pop, guys.
Soda Pop, yes, Rob Lowe did.
Soda Pop.
Yeah. So he goes on this podcast and they
Dax Shepard's podcast.
yes,
Hot one.
Whew.
that's a hot one. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so they, start talking about The Outsiders and, how basically Rob Lowe was working with Tom Cruise before he was the big Tom Cruise we now know today. And so, they start talking about it and what was his experience. And Rob Lowe gives the best backhanded compliment I think I've ever seen. Like, he is able to talk shit and tell a diva fucking story, but then turn it into a compliment at the end.
Okay.
So this is what Rob Lowe says, that they had survived the LA round of auditions for The Outsiders. And so it was time for them to go to New York to audition for all the big producers and movie people.
Francis Ford Coppola
In New York.
was involved.
Wow.
I think he directed it, right? Really? I think. I don't know. I think he did. Yeah, he did.
Oh, Dario.
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 was there.
Yes. Yes.
Yes, he did.
I'm a film buff.
Yes.
I mean, film.
So it's back in 1983, and they're being sent to New York for a month-long audition. And he
God.
says
Do
it's
that?
I can tell you, because this was a huge book.
yeah.
I know you read it, Emily.
Of course.
And so when this was being made into the movie, obviously Francis Ford Coppola, who
Big
made
deal.
The Godfather,
Yes.
Emily.
Knew it.
And so he's a big deal, massive deal. He's making The Outsiders. Every young star in Hollywood had wanted to be in this. And so that's probably why this was so extensive and they ended up with so many stars.
Yeah. So Rob Lowe says it was him, Tom Cruise, Emilio Estevez, and C. Thomas Howell that were all
I
sent.
forgot to mention him.
Yeah.
He was
he
one of
doing?
he's one of the main stars.
Oh yeah.
That's Pony Boy.
What
Pony
else was
Boy.
he in?
C. Thomas Howell?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shit. What else?
C. Thomas Howell.
He's been in. He was in a lot of stuff that back then.
Yeah.
And then as he got older, he sort of
Fell
fell
off.
out.
Yeah. So they're all sent to New York and they're going to stay for a month, like I said. But keep in mind, they're all young. We're talking like 16, 17, 18 years old. And they get to the Plaza Hotel in New York where they're supposed to be staying. And Rob Lowe gets there first, and up walking in after him is Tom Cruise. And that is when they are told by the front desk and their handlers that Rob Lowe and Tom Cruise will be sharing a room at the Plaza Hotel.
Okay.
Now, Rob Lowe, who's, young guy, beautiful Plaza Hotel, cool. Okay, awesome. This is what we're doing.
Time out. And at this point, Rob Lowe was a decent name, right? Or no?
No, not yet.
So neither of them were big names.
No.
No.
And they haven't got the movie yet. They're still auditioning.
They're still auditioning.
And,
So-
and Rob Lowe kind of blew up faster than Tom Cruise, but then Tom Cruise blew up more, right?
Yeah, and surpassed
And
him.
surpassed him.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
Like heartthrob wise.
I'm just very interested in all this right
Okay.
now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I am.
So he says at this point, when they're told they need to share a room, he says that is when teenage Tom Cruise throws the biggest fit he says he has
bullshit.
ever seen
bullshit,
in
dude.
his entire life.
Really?
He says,
Diva alert.
he says, quote, "It made me laugh. It was gnarly." He says to see the guy who at that point had only had a small part in Endless Love and the 7th lead in Taps, he goes, for that guy to present himself like he is the top of the pop
he's Tom
star,
Cruise.
like he is Tom Cruise.
Like he's
He said, you got to respect that. That guy had vision. He knew where he was going. He knew he wanted to be
okay.
the star. So he was acting like the star before he was.
Oh.
And according to Rob Lowe, he said, even though the dude threw a hissy fucking fit in the lobby of the Plaza Hotel, he says he admires that guy's drive and he is a star today.
Yeah, I think we know why.
Why?
Rob Lowe's a good-looking guy.
Ooh,
Tom's
tempting.
still confused. with the
Tempting.
feelings there. Oh, you're calling bullshit.
First of all, fuck
What?
you, Rob Lowe.
Whoa!
That's number one. Go, Rob Lowe, you fuck. You're nowhere near as big as Tom Cruise is.
Why are you
you were
attacking
on
Rob
You were on
Lowe?
Parks and Rec like a fucking loser.
It's a compliment.
A few years later.
It's a
Nice.
compliment.
Oh God!
He was nice.
Your career fell off a cliff while Tom's just kept going up and up and up. Clearly, he's got a problem with Tom. Easy to take a shot at Tom. Rob wants some clout.
Why are you so offended?
Because I love Tom. I think this is
but-
bullshit. I think he's
but-
the nicest guy ever.
But is
Nicest
it
guy.
really that far fetched?
Do you not believe
I
it?
do. I don't believe it. I don't believe it because
Really?
he was.
Really?
Because he's such a nice guy now.
How do you know that?
What?
Because he is. And I just feel like
Based on what?
back then when he was a nobody, why would you?
Didn't we hear that when he was filming Top Gun 2, that the soldiers and sailors
Yes.
or whatever the deal was were told not
was a
to look
bullshit
him in
rumor.
the eye?
That was a
I heard that
bullshit
not
rumor.
to look him in the
That was a
eye.
bullshit
Yeah.
rumor.
I think we heard that from a military person.
Yeah, and I also
Yes.
I had military people
Yes.
DM me that it was a bullshit rumor.
Oh,
So
bullshit.
suck on that.
Bullshit.
suck
So
on anything.
number one, I don't believe it. Here's why I don't believe it.
What?
Because he was a nobody, and let's say he was a nobody,
'Kay.
and he wasn't even the star. He was barely in the movie. Eddie said. So
No,
why
no,
would,
I didn't say that. I mean,
Eddie said he's barely in the
I
movie.
mean, he's
so why
he's
would
like the fifth
he's
name
like the fifth
down.
late,
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
if he acts like an asshole like that, and you're not a star, they may just say, "All right, you're gonna act like an asshole. See you later." Why would he risk not being in the movie just because he has to share a room? That's what doesn't make sense to me. Why would he risk his job in the movie and not getting the role? Because if it gets back to like
Confused
Coppola,
about your
oh, is
feelings
that why?
Yeah.
about boys.
It's
I
fucking
don't wanna
Rob
be in the room
Lowe
with another
wishing he
man.
was Tom Cruise. That's what
I'm
it is.
nervous.
Yeah, you
When was
don't-
the last time Rob Lowe was in a movie?
You don't want Rob Lowe going to the director being like, I'd love to work with this Tom Cruise guy, but he tried to anally rape me last
my
night,
God, he did.
and
Oh my God, he
I
did.
can't.
Oh my
and
God.
I
bet he did.
I don't
bet he
know.
did.
We
Wow.
don't know.
So what I read
we
yesterday.
Don't know.
So what I read yesterday
What?
that Tom hasn't talked to his daughter in 7 years. Who gives a shit?
Yes.
Who
Yes.
gives a
But
shit?
he's a great guy.
He gives
Yeah.
a shit.
But he's a great
guy.
Who gives a shit?
Thor says he's really
Who gives
nice.
a shit?
I thought he was a great guy.
Yeah.
Who gives a shit?
Wow.
You know,
His daughter
I
probably
heard
does.
his daughter's a bitch. So
Oh
why would
my
he talk
God.
to her?
Bitch.
Why would he talk to her?
My
Are we
God.
talking
So
about
is
little
Katie.
Surrey?
So is Katie.
Don't
So is
attack
Katie.
Katie Holmes now.
I mean,
Fuck those two and fuck Rob Lowe.
oh my
Okay.
Lord!
So you can't see the other side of it. Like Tommy sees, like, I'm gonna be a star. I'll be treated like a star,
No,
and
that's the stupidest thing I ever heard.
if I show these guys they need to treat me as a star, then I will become a star.
No, because if it gets back to the director that this guy that nobody knows is acting like a little bitch, then the director's gonna go, well, then fuck him. I don't want him in the movie. That's how I would look at it. I'd be if I'm a nobody, I'd be so nervous I'm gonna get thrown out of the movie.
Wow.
Fucking Rob Lowe. Go do your Parks and Rec reunion, little
I mean,
Rob.
Did Rob
Little
Lowe?
Rob.
Did Rob Lowe get in trouble for having sex with an underage woman? Yes,
Yes, that happened.
but I believe him.
right.
But
that he had sex.
His word is gold, baby.
Thank
Really, it's
you.
gold.
Yeah.
He
Times
plays
have
the
changed.
same fucking character now in every TV show.
He does.
Yeah, it's like that like neurotic fucking Parks and Rec guy.
Can you leave Rob Lowe
I thought
alone?
Rob Lowe started to go in the like smarmy, I'm kind of an asshole, good-looking older guy. You know, like he was in Wayne's World, and like he was in Tommy Boy.
Yes.
like that's what I thought his
Yeah.
lane
Now
was.
he's like the neurotic guy from Parks and Rec in every role.
Interesting.
Yeah, screw
But,
Rob
I mean, the
Lowe.
guy's a national treasure.
Rob
I
Lowe.
agree.
Yeah, I think Tom
Yeah.
Cruise is a bigger star than national treasure than Rob Lowe.
No, I trust Rob Lowe all day.
Over Tom.
Oh yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
So what? He's deep in Scientology and has weird alien thoughts.
Yeah, I mean,
So
there's
what?
a lot of weird about Tom.
Yeah.
No, there's not.
I mean,
Name me one thing.
Who was
He
the
played hide and
That's what I'm
seek
saying.
at his house with J Lo
Oh, man.
and what's her face?
Yeah.
Leah Remini.
Leah
Oh,
Remini.
man.
Yes, made them play
man.
hide and seek in
As
his
so
adults.
house.
crazy.
As adults.
As adults.
So crazy. He
As
wants to have a
adults.
little fun on a Saturday night. Wow. What a
and
piece of
seek.
shit. What a piece of
Jumped
shit.
on the couch when he started dating
He was
Katie
in
Holmes
love.
on Oprah.
He was in
Yeah.
love.
I mean,
I've
that's a
jumped on a
little
couch
weird.
before.
You have?
I've jumped on national television.
No,
You have?
When was
No,
that?
you
I'll jump on
haven't.
this chair right now.
Please don't.
Oh
You'll break
God,
it.
don't.
Hey,
no.
I'm just saying.
We'll not break it.
No.